but it's not displayed under the stamina bar like other status effects. Instead, you'll notice a corresponding ring of light appear over the miracle itself. Seeing this means the buff will be present if you cast your miracle. Sometimes it's difficult to see when the miracle's icon is fully lit up, so it's easier to see if the miracle is grayed out from offhanding your talisman.
Lifesaver, thanks.
The miracle resonance sign isn't something you pick up, you just have to remain near it for it to work. And it can also be used repeatedly until it goes away on its own. It's here based on a timer system and will appear and disappear completely independently of whether I use it or not. So what creates resonance signs and what benefits from them is really just two simple lists. But where it starts to get weird is when we start talking about resonance level. Because this is Dark Souls 1, we should expect nothing less than complicated subsystems for obscure mechanics, and we do find that here with resonance level. Well, the basic concept isn't too out there. If you stand near multiple resonance signs, you can get even stronger buffs. There are 4 resonance levels total, with resonance level 1 being the weakest, and resonance level 4 being the strongest. And these all have corresponding indicators in the HUD, with the ring of light grows thicker. But experiencing levels 3 and 4 must have been incredibly rare, even when this mechanic was working correctly. We're talking far more rare than even running into vagrants. To this day, the Wiki.page page only includes images for what the first 2 resonance levels look like in the HUD. This isn't because we didn't have access to the textures for all of them, but because we never experienced them in-game. And so I omitted levels 3 and 4 from the wiki, due to being unsure if they were unused content. It took hacking from Drift Item, years later, to confirm that levels 3 and 4 were also technically possible in-game. Here's the breakdown. Standing next to 1 or more resonance signs gives you level 1, 3 or more causes level 2, 6 or more causes level 3, and 10 causes level 4. So yeah, you can probably imagine how we were never able to confirm those higher levels in the wild. Even getting resonance level 2 probably sounds like a rare event. What are the odds that 3 signs are going to show up at the same time and all closely together? But this wasn't as unreasonable as it sounds, because you didn't really need all 3. This is where the Ring of the Sun Princess comes in. The Ring of the Sun Princess is acquired by joining the Princess Guard, but its use isn't restricted to the Covenant, so you can always just take it and then leave. Its description is as follows. This ring is granted to those who enter a covenant with Guinevere, daughter of Lord Gwyn and the Princess of Sunlight. The slightly warm ring boosts the synergy of miracles. If you've ever put it on, you might have noticed that it gave you the buff without standing near a resonance sign. So what exactly is it doing? For a while, I thought it was maybe acting like a portable resonance sign. My best understanding of it was just imagining that a resonance sign was permanently following you around so long as you were wearing it. This didn't turn out to be totally correct, though, and is something else that Drift Item helped discover where my initial testing left off. It turns out that the Ring of the Sun Princess just directly adds +1 to your resonance level, completely independent of how many resonance signs you're standing near. I should mention that the game caps at loading 10 resonance signs into your game altogether, and even if you somehow manage to stand near 10 signs at once and equip the ring, it's not going to stack further into a 5th resonance level. It does count before. So what kinds of awesome, overpowered stuff does Miracle Resonance allow? Well, don't get too excited. On the realistic end of the spectrum, we're talking mostly about minor buffs. But what does it do exactly when some spells are offensive, others are healative, and there's also Force, which doesn't do any damage at all? Well, we just kind of have to look at each one individually, so let's start with Force. Increasing your resonance level will increase the radius of the Force Blast. It's a little difficult to visualize the incremental differences in game, but here's an example of the player character floating half a unit above the ground. This is how much the radius of Force increases with each resonance level. It starts with a default radius of 2, and works its way all the way up to a radius of 4. So you can potentially double the size of the Force Blast. This is something we can visualize with the help of Wrath of the Gods, as that has a default radius of 4 to begin with. So on the left we see the default maximum distance for the Force Blast, and on the right you can see how large it can become at resonance level 4. Now onto Wrath of the Gods. If that starts at radius 4, how big does that become? Well, actually, its size doesn't get changed at all. Instead, we just see an increase to the damage. Wrath of the Gods by default deals 280 magic damage, and this increases by 10 with each resonance level.
With the team so far, June.
Now, Emit Force happens to combine the previous two buffs, expanding both the size of the blast and its damage. It's following the same increase by 10 formula for the damage, but its size instead is only increasing by a quarter of a unit this time.
The overdogs are going for it. Cash out initiated.
Just as a quick aside, this is the first time I've happened to look at these exact numbers, and it really helped explain a lot as to why Emit Force always felt so difficult to use compared to Wrath of the
Jump pad
Gods.
deployed.
Of course, we'd expect the projectile version of the spell to have to be weaker in some ways, but there really is a massive difference between the hit radii here. Again, by default, Wrath of the Gods is 4, while Emit Force is a measly 1.5, meaning its explosion isn't even half as large.
Guardian turret active.
Now, with the offensive miracles out of the way, let's take a look at the regenerative healing units. There are 2 miracles that heal you over time, Replenishment and Bountiful
Enemy
Summon.
here.
These miracles both work the same and increase your health by the same amount. It gives you 10 HP per second over the course of 60 seconds, increasing all the way to 20 HP per second at resonance level 4. So this leaves us with just 4 more healing miracles. These are all standard single refills of health, similar to Estus. And here's how they improve with each resonance level. Again, these numbers aren't absolute, they will increase more health with scaling, but it gives you an idea for the base numbers involved. So now that we know how this is supposed to work, where did this mechanic go wrong?
Getting you back. Grateful.
I mentioned earlier that this mechanic is broken in Dark Souls Remastered, but the original version of the game isn't off the hook either. As much as I'd love to give a detailed breakdown of what's wrong with it, I don't think anyone knows exactly what the source of the problem is. It seemed to work okay for the most part on Xbox 360 and PC, but it was essentially completely broken on the PlayStation 3. I remember the community reaction to seeing players stream on Xbox while PlayStation players looked on and said, "Hey, what are those white rings exactly?" Just take a look at this video from Boro in 2013 on Xbox. It gives us a glimpse of how the Force should look when there's a bunch of people spamming Wrath of the Gods there. Even achieves Resonance Level 2 on several occasions. What happened on PS3 is the game would go through phases where Miracle Resonance worked fine